Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to change out a water pump on an '05 Dodge Ram with a 4.7 V8. Now the water pump's down here back behind the fan. This pulley is attached to it. First thing you're going to need to do is get a 15mm socket and remove the belt by releasing the tension off the tensioner right there. You'll be pulling upward in order to release the tension. So you pull upward and then you can remove the belt off from the alternator on the top right here. After you let the belt go off the alternator, then you can take the ratchet off and set it to the side. Now if you don't already have it set, it's easiest to take the cooling fan off using a set of wrenches like this. On the pulley you'll be using the wide studs right there, and I'll show you how to take it off here. Okay, if you look down in here on the pulley, you'll see some holes in there, and you'll take those studs and slide it inside of those holes. Place your other wrench on top of here. This is normally pretty tight on there, so you probably want to use some bars to give you quite a bit of leverage, but it comes off lefty loosey, righty tighty. So once you've got it broken loose, you should be able to turn it pretty easily, and you can start turning the fan, and you can see how it's coming off right here. Now whenever it gets towards the end, you don't want it dropping off, because you'll end up damaging the radiator if the fan goes forward. So what I normally do is I'll hold the fan up and I'll spin the pulley until it detaches. Now once it comes off the end, you'll need to hold it, and then you'll just slide it right up through between the cooling shroud, the alternator, and bring it on up and set it to the side. Now you want to take note of where the belt is. You probably want to do that before you take it off, so that you can remember how to route it around, unless you have a decal underneath the hood that shows you. Next thing that you need to do is remove the pulley down there next to the tensioner. One right there that sits to the left of the water pump pulley. This one right here is one that you'll need to remove, because you have to access the bolt back behind here for the housing of the water pump. Now that is a 15mm socket also. And once you get this bolt out, there might be a little washer on there like that, and then pull the pulley off and set it to the side. So now you're ready to drain the antifreeze. So you'll go underneath the vehicle and get you a pan to catch the antifreeze, but if you look up underneath on the driver's side, you'll see a knob right here that you turn to drain the antifreeze out right here. Remember to remove your radiator cap so that the antifreeze will come out a little bit quicker. So while the antifreeze is draining, you can use a 13mm or a 1/2 inch, whichever one fits on it better, to remove all the bolts for the mounting flange on the water pump. Now once you've gotten all the bolts out and that you ensure all of them are out all the way around, usually the water pump will come off pretty easily. It'll usually start falling off on its own, and you can see right there how easily this one came off. Now if it doesn't come off easily, you might need to tap it with a rubber mallet or get a screwdriver or a pry bar and just put a little bit of pressure on one of the corners. But once that's loose, you should be able to bring the water pump completely up and out and just set it there on the ground. And you can see this one, the seal doesn't really look bad, but it was leaking and collecting water right in there. So from back behind the pulley area, it was water was leaking out. So once you get your new water pump, it'll come with a new seal, and you'll need to place it in the groove. You'll see a couple tabs that lines up with the tabs that's on the water pump, but go ahead and push that seal down into the groove there. After you get the seal on the water pump, you'll want to make sure that the surface that water pump sits on is perfectly clean all the way around. If it has any type of corrosion or debris on it, then go ahead and clean it off. And then you'll be setting the water pump back through this little space right here and putting the appropriate bolts into the appropriate holes. If you didn't keep all the bolts in order whenever you took the water pump out, they are different lengths, but you don't have to worry about it too much because you'll definitely be able to tell which holes are long and which holes are short on the water pump. Just simply insert the bolt and see where it starts grabbing at. If it's too short, then it won't grab at all, and it'll go all the way to the mounting surface. So then you'll just pull it out and put one of the longer bolts back in there. Now when you finish snugging the bolts down, you'll want to go back and torque them down. Now you want to do a crisscross pattern from one side to the other and up, and like a star type of shape all the way around, and torque them down to 40 foot-pounds. So once you get all the bolts torqued down for the water pump, then you'll want to put your idler pulley back on down there that you had to take off, and then you can go ahead and reinstall the belt. So you just put the belt back on the way that it came off, using the 15 millimeter socket with the tensioner right there. Just pull up on it and slip the belt over the alternator whenever it gives you enough room. Now the next thing you're going to be doing is just putting the cooling fan back on. So your cooling fan will slip right between the cooling shroud and the alternator and go right back to where it needs to right there, and then you'll just start spinning it onto the shaft till you get it attached. Once you get a couple of threads on there, you should be able to spin the fan until it gets snug with the base, and then you'll go back and get your tools to tighten up the shaft the same way that you removed it. So you'll find the slots, the little holes that are in the water pump pulley there. Put your little tools on there, and then get the other one on the shaft and tighten them up. So once you get the cooling fan tight, the next thing you want to do is just make sure that you did close the valve on the bottom of the radiator, and then you'll start to fill up your antifreeze, and you'll fill it up with a 50-50 mixture. You'll get the engine operating temperature. I usually leave the cap off and keep filling it up until it doesn't take any more. Make sure that you keep an eye on the temperature on the dash to make sure it doesn't get too hot from just sitting still. But usually after you take it for a drive also and let it cool back down, you'll usually end up having to put a little bit more in there. So it could be a little chore to get all the air bubbles out of the system, but once it's all out and you have the antifreeze full, then you've completed the service on it. So anyway guys, thanks for watching my video today. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, then give me a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.